Today's generation is standing face to face with the largest crisis we as humans have ever witnessed. Denial is no longer an option. Climate change is real, and we need to take a stand. The situation is constantly getting worse, and it creates a vast amount of problems here on Earth. Every day we are faced with decisions that we have to make. While it might not be evident, these decisions can have a large impact on any given day. Whether it is deciding what to eat for breakfast or how to get to work, you are the one who chooses. As citizens of Earth, we need to start being more conscious of these decisions and how they can affect us and our environment.
What if the storm ends and I don't see you as you are now, ever again? The perfect halo of cold hair and lightning set you up against the planet's last dance. Just for a minute, the silver forked sky lit you up like a star that I will follow.
2013 is an excellent example of how real climate change can be. This year, there is more CO2 in the atmosphere than at any other point in the last 800,000 years. Weather patterns are sporadic and causing mass destruction. Over the last 150 years, ocean levels have risen 8 inches. Yearly sea level growth has doubled since 1900. Hurricanes, tornadoes, and tsunamis have not only increased in quantity, but in violence as well. This year alone, there were record storms in Europe, drought in California, terrible heat in the Arctic, and flooding in Britain. These are only a few of the many issues that come hand in hand with climate change. There are many reasons why people do not act on climate change. Whether they do not feel affected by these changes, or they think that they can't have an impact on such a large problem, we must end all the excuses. In reality, these problems are in our backyard, and it's our responsibility to do something about them. We understand that this whole issue can be daunting, and that is why
it is important to break it down into smaller, more feasible goals for us to accomplish. Climate change is a world problem, but in order to fix it, we must start at home.
Petcoke, or petroleum coke, is the fine dust produced as a byproduct of oil refining. Currently, it sits in massive stockpiles inside the southeastern neighborhoods of Chicago. Petcoke is made when tar sands are removed from the earth and cleaned. Petcoke is used for energy, however, it is an unsustainable and dirty energy source. This product is made in large oil refining factories, like the BP Whiting facility just outside Chicago. It is then transferred to the Chicago area to be held. This substance can cause many health, environmental, and economic complications. Since the dumping of petcoke is more of a recent predicament in the spectrum of climate change, there is not much medical research to accompany it. What we do know is that it certainly is hurting people's health. When we visited the neighborhoods affected by the dumping of petcoke, our guide mentioned that 75% of homes had inhabitants using a respiratory machine or inhaler. Cancer and asthma rates in those neighborhoods are significantly higher than any other neighborhood in Chicago. This can be linked to the dumping of petcoke. The petcoke dust is very fine and easily blown around. This causes citizens to breathe in the substance when it piles up on their windowsills or under their door. The dust then settles in their lungs and, as you can probably tell, may cause many health concerns. Also, it sticks to your skin and is not easily removed. These piles of petcoke are left out, unprotected with no cover to keep it from blowing away. Unfortunately, these neighborhoods are often deemed unimportant and forgotten by many Chicago citizens. We must recognize them as a part of Chicago as we try to stop the dumping of petcoke. Petcoke is also the source of many environmental problems. When the dust is blown around, it can be spread upon fields or forests and contaminate or even kill the species living there. It can also be spread into animals' habitats and affect their health as well. After the petcoke is dumped, it is then placed on barges and shipped to China, where it can be burned. While petcoke can be burned for energy, it is illegal to burn petcoke in America because of the high sulfur content. When petcoke is burned, it releases extremely high amounts of sulfur and other harmful gases into the atmosphere. Even though the petcoke is burned in China, it still affects our climate because we are all sharing the planet at the end of the day. After petcoke is burned, it is released into the air, where it can be converted into acid rain that can potentially spread all over the earth. Hopefully, you all notice that the problems surrounding petcoke keep on piling up. Finally, petcoke is also affecting the community's economy. After the Industrial Revolution in North America, this part of Chicago was heavily dominated by the steel industry. These steel mills created a large amount of job opportunities for the community. Now, all the steel mills have closed, and the petcoke industry has created essentially no jobs. This transition left many jobless and resulted in the decline of the area's economy. The only people who make money off of petcoke are the giant corporations. These corporations have hurt Chicago neighborhoods health-wise, environmentally, and financially. However, instead of releasing statements to help the communities be safe around petcoke, they make everything very confidential, and they are currently still trying to convince the community that petcoke is a good thing.
Plagues my mind, and it keeps us right here.
Now that you have learned about the issue, we want to show you what we have done about it. Since the goal was to educate others, we first had to educate ourselves. We made ourselves available to the communities affected by Petcoke through taking tours, volunteering, and talking to people in the neighborhoods. We went with Tom Shepard, a volunteer for the Southeast Environmental Task Force, who gave us a tour of these areas. Along the way, we met with volunteers from the community. They were secretly building kites with cameras attached to them in an attempt to take pictures of the Petcoke over its protective walls and fences. By going to the neighborhoods in person, we saw firsthand how the dangers of holding Petcoke so close to residential areas can cause massive problems. Houses plagued with chronic Petcoke dust and a neighborhood with some of the highest asthma and cancer rates of any other city. On the block closest to the Petcoke mounds, the dangers are apparent. 2 of the 3 houses have residents with asthma, and the 3rd lives on a breathing machine. Most of the other houses are currently empty because the residents fled to get away from the massive problem. These communities are constantly battling Petcoke, and we are trying to help them get it out of the places that they live. With Tom, we learned that the scariest part of the dangers surrounding this problem is that there are very few people taking action against it. We saw volunteers like Tom educating us, and a few others like the ones building kites to fight BP, but it was apparent that they could not do it by themselves. Besides these few volunteers and the community members themselves, it seems as if that nobody really cares about this issue. But that is not the reality. The reality is that nobody knows. Even those educated have tried and failed to fix this problem. In legislative offices, bills regarding these restrictions on Petcoke are constantly rejected, even though they keep on being applied to the Senate and House. Unfortunately, it does not seem possible that these bills will ever be passed, because the corporate America keeps on bribing public officials because they want the continuous profits from Petcoke. This dilemma became even more evident when we went down to Springfield with a group of environmentalists to lobby for Petcoke to be removed from neighborhoods. Specifically, the bill would keep Petcoke 1,000 feet away from any residential areas where it can't hurt people, as well as away from community buildings, religious centers, and other common places necessary for residents. All 5 public officials that we talked to agreed to support the bill. Unfortunately, we did not get to talk to more because most of the senators and representatives were in session and did not have much time to talk. However, we gave their secretaries slips and pamphlets that detailed the bill and told them to vote for it. Through our work, we not only learned a lot about Petcoke, but educated many others. Sadly, the bill was rejected. Everybody we talked to seemed to support the bill, yet somehow the bill did not move past the House. This failure is a story that the southeastern residents of Chicago are well used to. Weeks after the bill was shut down at the state level, a similar bill was rejected at the city level. Even with all the rejection surrounding them, the residents and volunteers are still dedicated to clean up Petcoke. Whether you'd like to believe it or not, you can make a huge difference. Write a letter to your representative, sign a petition, like a Facebook page, tell your family, tell your friends, tell anybody. At the end of the day, we might not be able to stop the production of oil, but we can certainly get it away from urban communities. Meanwhile, we can change our daily habits to decrease the amount of oil we use. The only reason people still make oil is because we need it. So if we slowly start to stop using oil, we can slow down the overall production of it in total.
I've been praying for the people to say that we don't wanna fight no more. There'll be no more war, and our children will.
My name is Mr. Katz. I teach at Whitney Young Magnet High School. Personally, I do a few things. One, I educate. I believe that educating and making people aware of what the issues are is something that's really helpful to teach the youth and teach the citizens of the community what some of the issues are. So the first thing is education. The second thing is I try to reduce the amount of things that I consume, so that way I'm not just buying frivolously, buying things that I know are ultimately going to be thrown out because I don't use them after 6 months. I bike. I bike for two reasons. One, it provides me exercise, and two, I don't have to utilize other forms of transportation that would consume fossil fuels or other types of fuels. I try to eat organically. I believe that eating organically does more for the environment in helping to reduce the amount of runoff that would go into our waters. While I'm very well aware of the fact that I do not live near an ocean, we're always upstream of an ocean, and so everything that we do has an impact on the ocean. And given that we eat foods that come from it, or given that other people would eat foods that come from the ocean, it's not just about me. I find that we're all in this together, and if I can do something that helps someone else downstream, well, I'm gonna do that as well.
We can't all be Mr. Katz, but we can all have a difference. While it might take a while to get rid of it for good, everybody can do their part in supporting getting Petcoke moved out from populated areas. The environment is extremely important to our survival. If we neglect it and continue on our path of destruction, there will not be a world to live in for future generations. There is still time to help. Petcoke is not the only problem. There are many other pollutants that are damaging the environment. However, unlike these issues, we clearly see the effects of Petcoke every day. Only with the cooperation of others will we be able to help the Earth recover and thrive for our children, our grandchildren, and so on. Now ask yourself this question: will I contribute to the saving of my planet, or will I put it off until it's too late? Our time to save the Earth is now. Not next year, not in 2 years, not 20 years, it must be right now. So get out and go make a difference.
Send me my way. Send me my way. Send me my way. Send me on my way.